everyone, welcome to New Beginnings. My name is Ferlie Almonte, your host, and today we have a spectacular show lined up for you. This is all about resilience, finding new beginnings, life after many losses. You know, as little children, we all have grown to, with this all fairy tales, we always look for and wish for that happy ever after. But as we grow up, we soon find out we have our puppy love, we have our first love, real love, and we get married, get divorced maybe, move on to another relationship, so many different things. It's a roller coaster of life. And we soon find out that living happily ever after does not come easy, or is it even real? You know, we go through breaks up, divorces, and tragically, on many occasions, we lose our loved ones to death. I myself have been through many of them, the heartaches, the many different dysfunctional relationships, the divorce in the most nasty way. But the one that changed my life the most was the death of my civil union spouse. I lost my spouse to pancreatic cancer within 10 months of our wedding day, and it truly, truly crushed me in words I could never describe. So, for those of us who have been through that, we all have our story. How do you even begin to pick up the pieces? You forgot how it is to live life alone because you've always been partners. Suddenly you have a soulmate and the two of you become just one. When you lose a loved one, you grieve, you mourn, and then you go through a phase of life where you feel very uncertain. Well, today's show is all about life and love after loss and how to find that new beginnings. I am thrilled actually to have in our show today two extremely, unbelievably remarkable human beings that could help us navigate through this very scary process of finding life after loss. We come from three different phases of our transformation when it comes to love and life. One of our guests will speak about being just happily single and maybe ready to mingle. Another guest has already found the courage and the mindset to find a new beginning and began to start to date again. And I must say, I'm blissfully, happily, very, very married now to my spouse, Christine Cipriano, and I could not be more grateful. So let's delve right into it. This is going to be a very juicy show. We're going to get raw. We're going to speak with vulnerability. We're going to speak our truth. And you know what? We're going to speak from the heart. And I'm sure you can find your own story within ours. Well, let me first introduce to you, you know what? Ladies first. To my right is Carolyn Slade Harden. Well, this beautiful, remarkable human being is not only Miss Senior America 2017, but she has so many different accolades that one human being could only wish for to have in her life. She's a woman of many enriching experiences in life and so many different accomplishments. She is accomplished in the fields of finance and music. Carolyn Slade Harden created and owned two successful businesses in the past. Born to sing, Carolyn is also an opera singer. Woohoo, you have to hear her sing. And a choral director and a top charting recording artist. Yes, we are in the presence of greatness here. She has performed with C.C. Houston, Dionne Warwick, Dee Dee Warwick, and many other gospel legends in her career. Carolyn has had a blissful and loving marriage of 51 years to her late husband, Arthur. Gorgeous and empowered. Take it in. She has remained happily single, and I want to know what's her secret. Carolyn Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ferlie. Thank you.
And also to my right is a very handsome gentleman I've known since I moved here in Manchester, New Jersey. As a matter of fact, this gentleman is responsible for introducing me to this pageant queen and empowered leader for many women across United States. Well, Dr. Dan Cruglio is a successful and multi-awarded chiropractor for over 30 years. He owned a multidisciplinary clinic in New Jersey till he lost his practice to a fire. And to make matters worse, his lovely wife was also diagnosed with brain tumor, which led, of course, to her untimely demise. These tragedies changed the trajectory of his career that led Dan to embark in a career in life and business coaching. His life evolution has inspired him to write and publish 2 amazing books: The Monday Morning Huddle, it's Monday today, and How to Sell Like Hell and Still Go to Heaven. What a title. I love it. Well, welcome to New Beginnings, Dan.
Thank you, Ferlie.
Oh my goodness. Where do we even begin? As I've said, maybe you can give us a little glimpse of your life, how many years you were married, and what brought that marriage to an end, and then we'll take it from there. You first, Carolyn.
Well, I was married for 51 years, and what brought it to an end, of course, was the death of my husband. But it was 51 years of a great marriage, a good marriage. It had your ups and downs, but it was a wonderful marriage.
As I was going through your bio, I was saying, like, how the heck do you have a blissful and peaceful and loving marriage having been so busy with different careers? So what was the secret there that made it really last 51 years?
I think for him, he enjoyed seeing me happy. He was one of my great supporters. He loved music, and he allowed me to do what I wanted to do because it made me happy.
Oh,
and it didn't bother him.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, take a note of that. That is one tip that you want to look for if you're single and ready to mingle. Somebody who will bring out the best in you and support your dreams. Yeah, actually what they said, there was a quote that said that, sometimes the true love is also finding happiness when the other person that you love actually finds their own. Like your happiness actually depends on the other person's happiness. So good for you, and I'm so glad that you had 51 amazing years to keep in your heart as memories. Yes. Dan, I am so sorry about that fire and the loss of Wendy?
Wendy.
Yes. Please tell us, how many years were you married to Wendy?
We were married almost 20 years.
Okay.
The interesting story about this was she was divorced, I was divorced, and my practice was growing. I actually put an ad in the paper to hire a public relations person, and Wendy came to answer the ad.
Whew, that's wonderful.
So she started out as my public relations person. She eventually became my office manager, and obviously became my wife.
Oh, I like that progression. That is a different kind of promotion, isn't it?
That she became the boss, right?
That's beautiful. And so, how long ago did she pass?
She passed exactly 5 years a week ago today.
Oh my God.
On February 2nd, 2015.
Now, Carolyn, how long have you lost your husband?
It's been a little over 4 years.
Oh, it's still pretty recent.
October 2015.
Yeah, I lost my spouse 10 years ago.
Oh.
And, I have 5 years ahead of you, headway. And so, as I said, I'm already married, and, I could not be more grateful to have found a new love, a new a new true love. But you know what they always say? When you find one true love, it's a blessing. When you find a second true love, it's a miracle, and I'm grateful for that each day. Now, Dan, your practice was taken away from you by a fire. And so, was that coincidental with you losing Wendy?
Well, what happened was, in July of 2008, Wendy was diagnosed with a brain tumor. While she was in the hospital was when I received a phone call from a friend of mine who worked in Point Pleasant. He said, "Is somebody there with Wendy?" And I said, "Yeah, my stepson is there with her." He said, "Well, I think you better come down and see your office." I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "The fire department is there."
Okay, wow.
When I got down there, 30,000 square feet was filled with water, literally up to my knees. My staff came down to help. At the time, I didn't know what to do, so what I did was I made sure that my patients were taken care of, called up all my friends. Eventually, what happened was we reassigned our employees to other places to work, and gave my practice away and became my wife's full-time caretaker, basically.
It's a full-time job. How long was Arthur sick before he passed?
Well, he really, the worst part of his illness was the last 2 years of his life. But he was still very independent. He made sure that he wanted that, and that was important to him, that he be able to do for himself. So I did whatever I could to support that independence that he needed.
Actually, which brings to the title of my book that I will be launching, Do You Love Me Enough to Wipe My Ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? It actually is an honor to be able to do that for our loved one, because it is all through that very vulnerable moments of our lives that we find that what we have in us, the strength, is actually, we're going to muster the strength and the resilience to be able to move through that trial together. So when your spouses passed, how was it like for you for the first year? By the way, actually, before we get into that, I'd like to know, when they were sick, did you ever have a conversation of, you can move on if anything happens to me?
No, we never did, because first of all, Wendy never believed that anything bad was going to happen to her. She had an amazing, optimistic attitude. For example, the condition that she had, the average is 18 months. Most people live 18 months. She lived 7 years. So you can talk about resiliency. There was a woman that was resilient and always had a good mindset for every MRI that we went to, that, once she had the surgery, that it wasn't going to grow back, and she's very, very confident about that.
Oh, I see.
Obviously, who she was after the tumor was a whole different person than who she was before the tumor, because she was very dynamic.
Thank you. Carolyn, did you have a conversation like that with Arthur?
No, we didn't talk about it. But I think we both knew it was coming, and we knew it was in the near future, but it wasn't something we discussed.
Well, my case was a little bit different, because my spouse actually was, dying of pancreatic cancer, and one night she said to me, "If anything happens to me, I want you to move on. You are such an amazing person, and it would be a shame that nobody will be able to enjoy you, and you deserve to be happy." Of course, when they're alive, nobody wants to hear that. It's almost like she was already giving me away before she was gone. But in a way, I found that it helped me move forward a lot with more ease and not guilt. Okay, you first. Well, after Wendy has passed, how long after did you begin to feel that you were ready to date again?
Well, it was over a year, and it wasn't so much that I felt ready, but friends had encouraged me to go out and date. And by nature, I'm not a dater, so they set me up with somebody, and it didn't work out, and I was just so hurt by it that I didn't really want to get involved again. So it was, the first year was just, I don't recommend what I did the first year, because I basically became a hermit, but I was very, very cautious after that experience.
So how did you actually change your mindset into wanting to move forward in life?
Well, because the existence that I was living was not productive. I absolutely did nothing for a year. Basically stayed in the house. I used to tell people that my two best friends were Ben and Jerry. Okay, I gained a lot of weight, so it wasn't the ideal situation. It was at the point where it's like, okay, you just got to force yourself, and that's what I did, and started going back out again, and started coaching again, and the people that I met in the networking things were encouraging me to date. And
you're lucky, because I spoke with a lady. She was actually 82. She lost her husband 2 years ago, and she started dating, a little bit younger man. He was 72, who immensely enjoyed being with her because she was very smart. But her biggest struggle was that her friends and her neighbors were saying, "How could you do that?" She doesn't understand why they were judging her for moving on and actually finding love with somebody who's a little older, actually a little younger than her. But the whole point is that some people are crippled by other people, whether it be relatives or friends, judging them for moving on after a loss of a loved one. Carolyn, have you dated after Arthur passed?
No, no dates. And I think it was completely the opposite of Dan.
Okay.
I didn't stay in the house. I didn't stay alone. I think that was very difficult for me. I couldn't do it. If I did, I became very depressed. So from the beginning, I kept myself busy. Whether it was going to visit the children out of state or visiting family here, I would do whatever I needed to do to get out of the house. And of course, I've always been involved, even through marriage and then after as well. So I started picking up more activities, getting more involved, and doing things that I enjoy. And the minute I sit still, I can't take it.
So are friends and family members setting up on a blind date?
No.
Because you're absolutely gorgeous and so much fun to be around. Are you ready to mingle?
I don't think my children are ready for that.
Oh, but are you?
I don't think they are. Well, I wouldn't turn it away if it came my way, but it hasn't, so.
Well, you know what? What are you looking for?
Maybe I'm sending the wrong signals.
Tell me, if you were to date again, now that you are in a different place in your life and having had a beautiful marriage for 51 years, what traits are you looking for in a partner in life?
I would never look to replace what I had or to compare anybody to what I had already. But there are certain qualities you do look for. I would want someone who's also active and involved and caring, protective, just a number of qualities, enjoy travel.
That's wonderful. At least, as a life coach, it's very important you're clear about what qualities you want in life, in a partner. What things you want to experience for the rest of your life. Because if you're not clear of what you want, it's very hard to attract the right people into your sacred space. Would you agree with me, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, because of that, now tell me, what qualities did you see? You're in a committed relationship right now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What qualities did you see in this beautiful lady that actually made you feel confident that this is the right one that I want to have a relationship with?
Well, it didn't start out that way for sure.
Okay. Tell me about it. Okay, we're listening. And go to the juicy details.
Well, no, as I said before, after my wife had passed, and at that time I wasn't living in the community that I'm living in now. And that's why, when Carolyn was talking about being active, that is like the key. It saved my life being where I am now. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we all kind of met people. I kind of met people through my sister who was living there, and that's how I met Carolyn, another Carolyn that I'm with now. And we just got to be friends. It just kind of evolved. I was starting to discover new things that I'd never done before. Like, she sings, so I started to sing and act and do all these things that I'd never done in my life before. So I was attracted to the fact that she had that background, right? And we had a lot of things in common. And one of the big reasons, not just her, but I think in any relationship, is, some people you can only take in small doses. Right?
Okay, explain more on that. What does that mean?
And other people you can be with for a while and it feels comfortable. I always talk about the comfortable silence. When there's no words being said, how do you feel? Are you uncomfortable? Do you feel like you have to say something? Or are you okay just being? And that's a good indicator that you're in the right place.
I think Dan made a good point when he talked about where we live, because that has a lot to do with it, living in an active adult community. I think if I lived somewhere else in a conventional neighborhood or something, life would have been completely different for me. But I have so many people that I can relate to, and so many friends that are going through or have been through the same thing. So you have a wonderful support group. And there are plenty of activities for anyone to get involved in. You just have to find your niche, your passion, and pursue it.
Now, Dan, have you ever found yourself comparing the people you've dated with your late wife?
I wouldn't say so much compare, but what I would say is that there's a spirit that lives in everybody, and sometimes you can catch a glimpse of that. Like when I met this first woman that didn't work out.
Why didn't it work out?
She was because she was just coming off of a relationship, a long-term relationship. She really wasn't looking to get into another long-term relationship. And like I said, I'm not a dater, so all I was looking for was what I had. So it didn't work out. So the fact that I just lost my train of thought here. What were we talking about?
Comparing.
Right. So you see certain qualities that I saw in my wife, and Carolyn, who I'm seeing now, is very outgoing, as my wife was. I'm very. If I don't know you, I'm very quiet, so I don't say anything. So she's kind of like yin and yang. She's very outgoing, very, people like her, and so there's that balance, and that's very attractive because I know that I don't have to carry the weight. I don't have to carry the conversation if we're out in public or we're not with people that we know, and so I don't see so much qualities as I see more of a spirit of the person.
I have to share this with you after you said when we talk about comparing, because I actually met my Christine during the time of my life when I was really down and really still grieving. And I remember when she came to the house and I was packing some of my late spouse's things, I started to sob. I just dropped down on my knees and I started to cry. And then Christine knelt in front of me, held my hands, and she said to me, I want you to know I'm not here to replace her, but I hope and pray that one day you can look at me and love me the same way. I knew right then that she was a keeper because she honored my feelings. She honored the space and the time that I needed to be able to move forward in life. Because some people, I'm sure you would agree, and you've heard your friends say that they feel insecure having to compete with dead people. They feel actually like, I'll never live up to your late wife, your late husband, or something like that. So what would you say, Dan, to somebody who went through what you were feeling? Would you say, were you depressed for that year? Or just immensely sad and mourning?
Yeah, when you spend almost 20 years with the same person every day, where you work with them, So, we went to work together. We work for another company also. We work for a chiropractic management company. We traveled together. We vacationed together. We did everything together. It's losing like a part of you. And it takes a long time, for me anyway, because of where I was. Obviously, it may have been different had I been where I live now, but that wasn't the case. But it took what I went through to get to where I am today, so I'm grateful for that. So I think that that has a lot to do with it as well.
I remember with me when people say to me, what made you move forward? What helped you become resilient? Mm-hmm. And I said, faith. If I prayed for strength, I prayed for courage, I prayed for wisdom, and I prayed to have somebody in my life that will get me and bring back that spark in my life, that space. You know what? Just like what you said, there's always that space in our hearts that will never be filled by anyone, right?
Like you mentioned before about Christine saying, I'm not going to replace your spouse. I knew that I could never replace Carolyn's spouse. Her spouse passed away. He was handy. I'm not handy. I don't own a tool. So my friends know that if they ever see me in Home Depot, it's only because I had to use the bathroom. You won't see me there. So I knew right away. And she had to get used to that because she thought I was going to come in and do stuff in the house. And she learned very, very quickly that if she's going to love me, it's not because I'm going to build her anything.
But you can give her adjustments. You're a chiropractor.
Yeah, I can change a light bulb. I tell her to keep it quiet. Don't tell anybody.
One of the things that was difficult for me was living alone, because the first 20 years of my life, I lived at home with my siblings and my parents. Then I got married and I lived 51 years with my husband. And then all of a sudden you're alone. That was the big challenge for me, that insecurity of being. But when I think about what others, or maybe my parents or my mother went through, or maybe my sister losing a husband and still having children to raise and all of that, I admired and looked up to them for the journey that they made, and they got through it. And I said, I know I can get through this too, So.
I know you're very, very busy traveling, actually the whole country with Miss Senior America. The universe, whatever. You're like, with your obligations to perform and do different things that would empower women during their age of elegance. Mm-hmm. Now, when you come home and you find yourself alone, do you feel lonely?
Absolutely. Then I get involved in something. I'll find something to get involved in to occupy my mind.
So you're saying that's your...
Sometimes I become overwhelmed. I put so much on my plate. And I'll say, all I want to do is stay home and do nothing for, I don't want to do all of this anymore.
So you just want to chill.
And the minute 2 days pass, I'm done.
You're ready to go again.
I'm ready to go.
You touch upon a very, very important subject. Children.
Yes.
Okay, because you said something that it seemed like you're ready if the opportunity to meet the right person comes along, but you said you don't think that your children are ready. Talk to me more about that. Are they are they the deal makers here, deal breakers?
I think they don't understand a lot of what's being said here today, that you're not trying to replace that person, and no one could ever replace that individual. But that's how they see it right now, that nobody could replace their dad.
Are you okay growing old alone?
Say that again.
Are you? Because right now you're happily single.
Right now I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right now I'm okay.
She's not alone. We're not alone. Where we live, we're not alone. It's only a choice.
Truly, we're not.
We're not alone.
With the friends and the support
Yes.
group that we have, you're not really alone. As I said, if I lived anywhere else, maybe I would be, but I know me. I think I would still get involved in some community program or outreach or church or something where I would still have those individuals and friendships in my life. I know a lot of women, what they turn to is just their families. They become the live-in, the built-in babysitter. They take care of the grandkids. My kids know that's not happening, so.
No, I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with that.
They still find, no, it isn't. That's wonderful too. But the point is, they still find something to occupy themselves and to occupy their lives.
Yeah.
So it's.
I truly believe that life is all about choices that we make because, some people, just like you're happily single, and it's okay that people sometimes have the concept of I don't want to grow old alone. And I think what they mean by that is not so much so that they would not have close friends or family, but having a life partner that can share a bed with, somebody that they can be more intimate with. I think that's what they are looking to express. And I guess there comes a point in our lives that intimacy is no longer about sex only, but all about true spiritual connection, about having that person that you can actually communicate with and do wonderful things together with less expectations, in life. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good point, because if you take the word intimacy and you break it down into me I see.
I like that.
So you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you allow yourself to be who you are, and you don't have to put on any airs, you don't have to be someone else other than who you are, and it's the acceptance of that person or people, right? You talk about a choice before. There's a big difference between being alone and being lonely. Right, that's a choice. Where we live, you're alone, obviously at night or whatever, but you don't have to be lonely. You can pick up the phone. You can go to the clubhouse. There's 63 clubs you can join. I mean,
that's true.
It's all about choice.
I guess that's one of being an active adult or being more seasoned in age, as I call it. There's a lot of perks to it. Now let's talk about dating. Well, the younger generation actually go mostly online because they say that 90% of successful marriages actually happen on online matches. I actually found, Christine and I found each other online, and it's actually a very funny story, but that would be a different show. It's actually hysterical. But what are your thoughts about online dating?
It's not for me. I'm not a dater, like I said. So every relationship that I had, which wasn't many, always led into either an engagement or a marriage. I mean, there was no, dating.
Would you get married again?
Probably not. Probably not. At this point in my life, I don't think that that's really of importance. Like Carolyn said, I married someone that was the love of my life, and and I do care and love for Carolyn. But I think the way our lives are, because at that certain point you've gone through so many things, that what we have now works, and so leave well enough alone.
Yeah, companionship is beautiful. As a matter of fact, there was somebody also, I've spoken with many people who actually are in very happy relationships and very meaningful friendships, but they don't want to get married because they would lose their benefits. So they said, we're okay this way. And quite frankly, a few of them would rather have separate homes because they can, when they cannot stand each other, they can retreat to their own homes, right?
But I know a lot of relationships like that where they're companions, they do things together, they enjoy each other's company, but they have their separate homes, they have their separate, space.
Carolyn, what would you advise somebody who is very career driven, somebody who's very active, but would want more, more, I wouldn't say like, because your life is full of substance in other way, but would want to be in a relationship, what would you suggest to them in terms of putting themselves out there?
I think that you would probably have to change your social life. For me right now, my social life is with a bunch of single women, pretty much, or, like I said, within a community there. I think if an individual is interested in finding a companion, they would have to be in an environment where that would be likely to happen. And maybe, like you said, even with the online dating, reaching out into programs like that, but I think that that's what you have to do. You have to be in a social circle where that's possible to happen. I was going to say I never see it happening in the circle I'm in, but
because we are all in the active, adult community and retirement community, and there are so many different activities.
Widows, widowers, and
Yeah, there's a lot of widows, widowers, and all that. I did not get the stats on this. Is it more men than women who are single?
I think
There's more women.
More women,
More
right?
women.
More women.
Yes.
And so you're marketable.
So the
I'm teasing.
competition
I'm teasing.
fierce.
It's interesting because when I told a friend of mine that the woman that I'm dating is 10 years older than I am, he said to me, statistically, you'll both die at the same time. So
Why is that?
Interesting. Yeah.
I guess because women live longer than men.
When I attended a business presentation on life insurance, they're saying that because of all the advancement of health technologies and medicine now, where it used to be the average lifespan would be 70, 75, now it's actually 124.
Whoa.
What? Average? No.
No, it will now. Actually, this is what they said. Babies who are born this year could live up to 124.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I would look like a prune by that time. Now,
With all the new technology and techniques, you would Botox.
yeah. No, tell me something. If one of your children was single, what would you advise her or him? Because the only reason I'm asking you this because, like, some families are very closely knit and very protective of their family members. So what if the roles were reversed and your children were the ones who were single? What would you advise them? And they're younger, of course.
Right, I was going to say, of course, they're a lot younger than I am. I would advise them to, keep the door, to not walk away from an opportunity to find love the second time around. Because then I feel they do have time for that in their lives since they are younger. And that to seek happiness. I would not want them to be lonely or alone for the rest of their lives at this age, or...
Thank you. Dan, you were both divorced and widowed.
Yes.
How was it different on both cases?
Well, I think with the divorce, it was just a matter of, not being with the right person. Not that she's a bad person. As a matter of fact, we're friends today. And great mom to my sons. It just was that, my career was taken off, and it led to some difficulties. When I met Wendy, she was aligned with what I was doing. She enjoyed that risk-taking, that growth, that constant, pressure, I guess, of growing the practice and becoming successful. So it was a perfect fit. And she started out as my best friend. And what better person to be your wife than your best friend?
You're a life coach as well. Okay, not speaking from your experience, because you said you are not a dater. But if there was somebody who is more like a serial dater, I know somebody that, so what would you advise that person, actually like us, how would you coach that person?
Well, what I would first do is to find out what their values are. Because once you know what their values are, then it's easier to find someone that has those same values. Because what happens is sometimes if we fall for just, let's say, outright beauty, then we become infatuated with that person. And when we become infatuated with that person, we try to live according to their values and not our own. And then eventually, over time, it creates a lot of resentment. So those things, kind of crash and burn. So it's more relevant and probably a lot more prudent to know what your values are and find someone that's aligned with your values, rather than trying to live up to someone else's values.
That's an excellent point. Alignment of values. Yeah, it's so funny. Like when you're younger, you have a checklist, right? Like if you're in high school, tall, dark, handsome. That. Oh, they have to be popular and hot, and all that. And then as you get older, your checklist becomes a little bit more definitive in terms of who do you want to marry.
Full set of teeth.
Full set of teeth, and
that's what you look
somebody, like somebody who
walks on their own.
But all of that is very important, because like if you're going to resent that person because it's not the lifestyle that you would want to have in your life, as I've said, we all have individual choices and criteria in finding what is going to make us happy. Nobody's here to judge. No one is like right or wrong in their choices in life. And and so that's very important. The knowing what values you hold precious and you practice is very important in sustainability of relationships. You said, do you agree about online dating?
I'm not sure I would try it.
Okay.
I'm hesitant because of the negative things you hear about.
Yeah. And you?
But I know
you said no,
worked.
right?
No.
I have to share this story with you because this is hilarious. I actually met my spouse on an online dating site, but this was so weird because when I was grieving and it was just too close to the time that I actually just lost my spouse, I was crying all the time, and I found the most comfort sleeping with her ashes next to me in bed, and I would talk to the ashes as though it's a live person. But one day, did you see the ghost? Mm-hmm. Like the spirit of Patrick Swayze just came over.
Yes.
Whoopi Goldberg. That happened to me, and I felt like something came over me, and it wants me to go on an online dating site. I've never been on an online dating site because it scared me. What if you end up with a rapist, serial murderer and all that? I was scared. And also, it was not my thing either. But for some reason, something was just pushing me, and I can't fight it. I remember even thinking, why should I be looking? I'm still grieving. Why am I looking? But it was relentless. It won't let me just shake it off. And so I go on my laptop and I go on a dating site, and it was Yahoo Personal, not even Match or anything like that. It was Yahoo Personal, right? And I was so scared. I changed my name to my late mother's name, that I will be protected in case somebody out there is, out there to get me. I did not write my bio. As a matter of fact, on the comments column, I only wrote, "I am mortified." So Yahoo Personals wrote me and said, you have a better chance at finding someone if you write more. I was so uncomfortable, so I made myself unsearchable. I did not put my photo on it. But I was the one who put categories, and the first match was actually Christine. Mm. And then I look at the ashes, and I said, you have something to do with this, don't you? So I guess there was, in a way, divine intervention. I felt like my dead spouse was my Cupid. it does not organically happen that way because I was just
Right, because that was very early in your grieving process.
Yes, I was still grieving, and I didn't think at the time that I was ready, and I was not into online dating also because I was scared of all the scary things that you read on paper, and what you're saying is very, very valid. But all the younger people go into that, and I was kind of pushed into it. But I am grateful that it happened, that in my life. So what are your plans for your future? What are you looking to do? What's on the pipeline?
Continue what I'm doing now and staying involved. And I'm in, several different organizations. I love finance and I love music. So my involvement in those two areas have kept me busy, pretty much. And it gets me to interact with other people as well.
No, you actually associate with a lot of seniors, fabulous seniors, who are most of them single or widowed?
I'd say 50-50 maybe. 50-50, yeah.
And based on your experience...
And I'm friends with couples as well as I am with the single women as well.
So what has been the ongoing mindset of women our age, like more the active adult and retired age group? What is the mindset about those people who are single?
I think that they are content with their lives the way they are, and they're enjoying life now. I mean, we do a lot of things together. We'll have girls' night, we'll have wine night, we have movie night, a red carpet party. You do all kinds of fun things, and some of them take trips together as well. And when we have another friend who is going through the same thing, and for example, right now we have one in our group, it's very new to her, and she's having a very, very difficult time. But we're all there to support her and help her through it. And I like working with children too, and with youth. And so I get a lot of joy from that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Basically, your therapy and your healing has come from a lot from getting involved in the community, being of service. One thing I also noticed about the three of us is that I don't know if it's because of the losses, but I'm sure that our losses and our experiences in life have contributed to us morphing into leaders in terms of transformation. I personally have made my message, and that's how I became a motivational speaker. I myself, co-authored several books on resilience, and I'm a life coach, and I also teach confidence, public speaking, and image, so that people can begin to attract the right relationships in their lives. Because if you're single and you look very dated, you're single and ready to mingle, but you look dated. You don't even know what goes on around the world. You need to basically spruce your image and be more updated, be more current in the way you communicate with the people out there, so you can begin to magnetize the right partners in life. Because otherwise, if you're not even sure about that and you're not really desirable, first be the person that you want to attract, right? So, based on that, what I was saying, like you have actually morphed into life and business coaching. How did you get into that from You still practice chiropractic medicine?
I do. I cover offices. I do.
Okay. Now, do you believe that your loss through the fire and also your loss of Wendy has contributed to you evolving into life and business coaching?
Well, I picked business coaching for two reasons. Number one, when I was going through the life coaching program, I knew that as a life coach, the best thing to do was not have your world enter into someone else's world, and I found that very difficult, to not add your 2 cents in. But in business, it's different. And Wendy taught me a lot about business, and so as a homage to her, I teach what I learned from her, plus from what I learned in the
What a beautiful, beautiful tribute. Now, you have empowered many women through your philosophy. Actually, recite your philosophy in Miss Senior America. I'm sure you know it by heart. Go.
I think I do. Music is the heartbeat of my soul. It makes me feel I can reach any goal. And when I sing, I try to convey what words alone cannot say. Songs like Climb Every Mountain and I Believe give me inspiration and hope to succeed. And when I sing, I remember my favorite things. I believe I can fly. Now that song gives me wings. For once in my life, I have something that I know will always be a part of me till the day I go. Music.
Wow. So music and social connection actually has been very therapeutic for you in terms of your loss. And you have been helping so many people through your books. I love your book. You know, definitely pick up How to Sell Like Hell. What's that?
And Still Get to Heaven.
And Still Get to Heaven. That is really awesome. And you have shared amazing, amazing stories. 30 seconds. Give me one tip that you would want to share with people about moving forward in life, about finding love again. One tip.
Well, in the movie Star Wars, they talk about the Force be with you. Force yourself.
Force yourself.
Force yourself.
Okay, self-motivation.
Force yourself.
Force yourself.
Force yourself.
I love talking. May the force be with you. Force yourself. How about you, Carolyn?
Stay engaged throughout your life, and that's another phrase and topic I've done. Engage at every age. I think that's important. Don't just sit around and let time waste and pass you by. And I'm hoping love will find me. I don't need to go looking for it.
In all the wrong places.
That's right. That's
Looking
right.
for love in
It'll
all the
come
wrong
to me.
places.
It'll come to me.
Well,
if it's meant to be, it'll be.
Well, thank you so very much. I could not believe that 1 hour just passed. You know, as you can very well see, life is all about choices. In my case, you know, always keep your heart open. Open your mind, empower your mind, and keep your heart open to finding love again. Because if you build a wall, the wall will either protect you or it will also keep love away. It's up to you how you want it to work for your life. Either way, just like what Carolyn said, stay engaged. Put yourself out there. Find something that makes you feel joy, and you would organically attract the right people. And Dan has said, force yourself. Self-motivation. Nobody can do it for you but you. You know what they say, what happened to you is basically not your problem. It no longer defines you. You have to move on and redefine your story in life. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. I choose to live my life with somebody that will continue to lift me up and bring out the best in me so that I can begin to also share my light with the rest of the world in sharing my message of hope, love, and resilience through many tragic losses in our lives. So go out there, get engaged, force yourself, motivate, keep your heart open to finding love again. I wish you all a great, great life and a life full of vibrance, engagement, and actually, you know what? Celebrate love all the time. Till then, this is your host, Ferlie Almonte. New beginnings is just around the corner for you.